is that, and I know it is. Everyone can't wait to get in here to talk to you. Putting this book down, because I don't want to go through all the quotes, because these are references from Jewish books. If you look at, you've heard of the Rothschilds, of course.
Yes.
Okay. And you've heard how he started off with his sons to create what we call the banking system today.
Yes. I mean,
right?
Yes, they're part of the banking system, yes.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is the world would have us believe, or media, or the way we're taught in our schools, that it would have us believe that these things are fragmented, that one have nothing to do with the other. But then you have a bank system that started with the Rothschilds. Then you have a slave system put in place, in which you an economy is produced off of slave labor, which is the world benefiting from a people enslaved.
Correct.
Then you have a people that are culturally torn because of this slavery. And then at the very end, you have all the people, including those who have destroyed the people, look at the culture that has been created by them, saying, what a mess. How can we get this together?
Right. I agree with all of that, except that it is somehow the fault of the Jews that it happened. Yes.
No, listen, the only reason we're talking about Jews right now is because of a book between blacks and Jews.
Right.
You understand? We're not saying it's exclusive to Jews, and if that is what's being insinuated, I want to bring that back real quick, because that is not the point we're trying to make here. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
No, I was going to say, if the point is that Jews, as Europeans, and as a special kind of European, in a way, had a hand in creating the mess of racism and slavery and discrimination that we are in now, you're absolutely right. Jews, as well as other people, had a hand in it.
Point.
Absolutely. There's no question about that.
But it goes to play. Yeah, exactly. So it goes into, I think that there should be a platform in which we are allowed to get ourselves together without any other people influencing.
But what
because obviously it doesn't work with those who don't understand. Not to say that people can't understand facets or parts or fragments of the black community. But as a whole, you can't understand unless you've been through it.
Right.
And the only people that know how to get themselves together really are those. The only way I feel that we can get this together is without outside influence. And I'm going to give you some examples of outside influences. The way we chastise our children. The way we don't want to deal with the vaccine program and all these different programs that science want to push on us that's killing us. We don't want a system in which we have handouts with food stamps and all that other. We don't want that. You understand?
I do.
We don't want that at all. Listen to what I'm saying. Even the people on it don't want it. So the whole deal is, when I look at let me call it the Jewish platform.
Okay.
Let's just look at the Holocaust and use that as a blueprint. There was a bad man who destroyed many people, and through that, Germany had to pay. There was a country etched out for them. Till this day, millions of dollars go from America to support Israel. There's a media platform that attacks anti-Semitism to make sure it never happened again.
Right.
Ever so often, there's a movie every 1 or 2 years that reminds the media, that reminds the masses of such an atrocity, so that people can understand what suffering does to a people.
Mm-hmm.
So that platform alone rallied Jewish people as one.
Yes.
They got protection, they got finances, they got a place. They have something to stand on to call their own without any outside influence, and they were protected by the UN community.
Right, which is, of course, an outside influence, but I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yes. But all in all, if we're going to look at a platform,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to look too far on how to, because we're talking about the degradation of the black neighborhood and who was involved in all that, and all these things are futile. But if we're looking at solutions, what better solution than what we've seen about 40, 50 from 40, 50 years ago, and look at your progression
Mm-hmm.
in
That's
time
right.
after going what your people went through in Germany.
I totally agree. And I think what you're saying is that the community that did the evil deed, it was the Nazis for the Jews, it's white people, it's racism, it's the United States government and other governments, in this case, need to provide a framework of security and support, and then it is up to black people to build themselves within that framework on their own. Right?
Exactly.
I totally agree. So all that means is that
the example
right.
I can give you, if Hitler and his family came to Jewish people and say, well, listen, I've hurt you, we want to make this right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Could you imagine what the Jewish people would be saying? Like, are you kidding me?
Exactly. But, of course, the Germans did do that. I mean, my point is that you're absolutely right. It is up to the black community to create its own sense of community and support. And that's up to black people. I, as a white person, can have no role in that. But I can have a role in pushing other white people and other American people to provide the outside support system that will allow black people that right. So all I'm saying is there's a role for everyone.
Thank you. And a key point that I would like to say is that it's tough. The tough part about it would be the fact that if you have to realize, I mean, slavery, and I'm not talking about ancient slavery. I'm not talking about slavery 200 years ago. I'm talking about classification slavery, in which 75% of the jails are filled with nonviolent offenders that are all black and Hispanic people.
Right.
And now the corporations have brought that out. Those are sweatshops like China.
That's right.
Yeah. So now they have turned slavery. So in a nutshell, just so because there's so many, we could talk about this for hours, but I just like to say this. I like to say this. There's no way that the outside forces will allow black people to operate within themselves because of the impact that would have for the rest of the world. That's why Martin Luther King received a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
so many people receive bullets. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, because if this was, they'd rather have a socialized program within the ghettos that pump out criminals that go straight into the corporate jails to work for free. Right. So slavery has been created again.
That's right. I could not agree more. I could not agree more, but all I'm saying is we as Americans, we as world citizens, have to keep our eye on who's responsible for this. And in this case, absolutely. I think you can blame rich people or corporate people or whatever, whether what their religion is, what their race is not as important to me as what they're doing. And that's where we have to put a stop to it. So I completely agree with you. and I think that there's a role for everyone to play in fighting that system.
Okay.
What I'm afraid of is, what I don't want is people to also categorize people who are trying to do the right thing. Do you see what I mean? So there are lots of people who are profiting, and those are the people that we should be targeting.
Yeah. I think the first people need to be targeted is the black so-called. They need to shut the NAACP down.
Ooh, that's quite.
It does not represent black people. It has been a shield for the corporate world. You understand? And they have used that institution to infiltrate and destroy the black community. When you look at Planned Parenthood and all that garbage that's being pushed through these so-called black leaders, done killed over 50 million babies, calling it abortion.
Well, I don't actually agree about the NAACP or Planned Parenthood, but that's fine. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
They can call it Planned Parenthood or whatever they want to call it, but all in all, you got a black preacher calling himself Reverend Al Sharpton or Reverend Jesse Jackson talking about a woman's right to choose. How do killing a baby equate to a woman's rights to choose? That's not even a political argument. It's utterly ridiculous. It's eugenics. It was germinated. As a matter of fact, eugenics was actually part of Stalin. It was part of Germany.
That's right.
So it's genocide. It's smooth genocide, but nonetheless. And what did Margaret Sanger say? We just need some black eloquent people so that we can kill off these weeds. We can finance the black eloquent speakers to convince them to kill themselves.
Yeah, Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist. There's no question about it. There's no question that this movement began by people trying to breed out people that they thought were inferior. I completely agree. I don't agree with what you're saying about abortion or Planned Parenthood, but I do understand what your argument is.
Yeah, NAACP need to be dismantled. Any organization, listen, a people don't need an organization. A people need a God. The people need one source. These are one people with one source that we've walked away from. But that's a whole nother conversation in itself.
Yes, it is.
I would like to thank you for coming on, and of course, we will continue the dialogue way after the time that you've gone. But we thank you for your participation, and it's been great speaking to you.
Well, likewise, and thank you for having me.
Okay, all right. So Gaja, you can bring on the guest.
Okay, all right, man, guys. Welcome. Welcome to the Search Engine International. I'm your host, Brother Gaja. All right, my guest tonight in the studio is Cheryl Greenberg. I'm gonna open the line now for some questions. I'll go to the first caller. We have our brother Lexwell with a comment.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, brother. How are you?
Hey, pretty good, Brother Gaja. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
All right, good to hear your voice.
Likewise, man. Bless you.
Hi, Miss Greenberg. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. This is a great show. It makes you really think a lot about past, present, and future.
I can tell.
Good evening, Elder Ricard. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing well. Bless you.
Bless you too. I noticed you guys talked about the NAACP here and there. The National Advancement for Colored People, and I noticed it was started by Jewish people or factions. When you look up the history of it online, and I wanted to ask, if I could, a couple of questions. My first question to you, Ms. Greenberg, is: do you have a definition of what a Jew is?
Well, I mean, as far as Jews are concerned, of course, Hitler had a whole different definition of what Jews were.
But do you know what that definition is also? I'm just
yeah.
asking.
Well, his definition was a biological one. Anyone born of a Jewish parent is Jewish, in the sense that he argued, at least, that Judaism was sort of part of your genes or something. That it was inherited. For Jews, you are Jewish if you believe in and participate in the life of the Jewish community. If you believe the things that Jews believe, if you do those practices, whatever.
Okay. Historically, where do we get the term Jew?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Where do we what?
Historically, where do we get the term, the phrase Jew?
Well, it's from the Hebrew, and actually in the Hebrew it means the other, or the person from far away. Is that what you mean, or do you mean in English?
No, that's fine. If I could ask the Elder Ricard the same question, she stated that the word is Hebrew. Could you give us a definition of what the term Jew means?
Well, you're asking me for a definition of the term Jew?
Yeah. I was under the impression it meant of Judean, dealing with the three tribes of the South.
Oh no, I'm sorry. But go ahead, Elder. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. Originally in Scripture, when you look in 721 B.C., the kingdom was split in two. The northern kingdom, under the Assyrians, left out in 721. There was only three tribes left: Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Those three tribes were the remnant left during the time of Christ. After Christ, after 70 A.D., it was taken down. The term Jew, the Romans called the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the people from Judea, Jews, stigmatizing all three tribes as one.
I see.
So that's where the original term Jew comes from the people from Judea, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, those three, yeah.
Now, the people today that we call Jews, are they still those three tribes?
Well, that's an entirely different dialogue together, in which I think we'll go into probably a little later. That's a whole, because you have history of the diaspora, you have the Khazar Empire, the European conversion into Judaism. You have those who converted into Judaism opposed to being of the blood of the tribe of Judah. So you have all those things into play. But that's a past historical lesson or class or what you would call broadcast that we've had in the past. But I would like to just try to keep this condensed. She came on our show and we wanted to talk about this relationship with the book itself.